Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 240 for your record books. My name's Aaron. Is with me, as always, Dave and Fredo, the other members of the Who Dat Jedi Council. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So are we going to do something special for the 250th? Because we're all going to be retired by the time we get to 500. So I think...
Spoiler alert, we haven't planned that thing out yet.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean...
We'll fix it in post.
10 weeks away. It's 10 weeks away. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we got a little time. Yeah,
I don't even know what I'm wearing tomorrow. So it's like, let's
spoken like a dad.
I mean, hey, you know what? You don't have to have kids to have stuff like that happen. I remember I went to, because when I was band director, I'd get to school obviously at 6 o'clock in the morning because marching band started at 7. And so I remember I was walking through the halls going to unlock some doors. I was like, something feels really weird about my shoes. And I looked down and I had one brown shoe and one black shoe because I got dressed in the dark. And it was so yeah, I would not, that just happens. So, but you know what?
We've all been there.
I tell you what, I love my career now because I don't have to, because it used to be every night before I went to bed, I'd have to iron my, my pants and iron my shirt and everything, get everything ready for, to go be in the school and everything the next day. Now I just put on jeans and a shirt, and the biggest decision is which tennis shoes I want to wear. So I love it.
I know somebody who can top it, and that's my brother Alan Houston. He works from home. So literally every day he's in, once my sister-in-law and my nephew leave, he is in t-shirts and sweatpants.
See,
Monday through Friday.
I'm
just like,
I refuse.
I hate you.
I refuse to be the, it's like I go through the routine. I mean, I shower every day. I get cleaned up, and sometimes if I'm going to be in a meeting with some higher ups, then I make sure I wear a nicer shirt. Never worn a tie though. But it's like I will wear. Sometimes if I feel like I'm being too much of a hobo, I will wear nicer pants. But otherwise, it's just nice. So yeah.
A little jealous.
It's a pirate's life for me. So anyway.
And I got to go to offices, and they require. I mean, we have casual Fridays, right, Dave? So jeans,
Yes.
button downs, and dress slacks are usually the norm.
The thing. Okay, first of all, I know both sides of it. It's like, my wife and I have talked about this. The school, right, is so goofy because, yeah, you do want to be a good role model for kids and how to be professional and all like that. But if, when they start putting, try to guilt, it's like the kids will have more respect for you if you wear a tie. It's like, okay, explain the PE coach to me then. It's like, so I don't know.
That's called fear. That's called fear of the big, burly, deep voice coach.
I had a principal. It was like, we had a. I mean, don't come in sweatpants every day, but he was like, it matters more to me how you teach and relate to the kids than how good you dress. So
smart person there.
Yeah, but anyway, that being said, I don't. You try not to look like a slob going, into the office. But anyway, we've totally went off the rails here. Dave, if this was a video podcast, he would have something, you would see that he has something to share because he's wearing the shirt. You went and saw a concert.
Yeah, this is probably part of the reason we didn't have a show last week, because I went to New York to catch Oasis. And that was really, really good. They were on my bucket list.
So you were a big fan as well. I know Kate is like over the moon, right?
Yeah, we're both really big fans. Like I mean, again,
I guess I've just never seen you singing at the top of your lungs while Big in the 90s are playing. Okay.
We have videos. I can share those videos with you of us just singing along. Poorly in my case, but yeah, it was. We both were both the right age for it, really, because they got big over in the States, like right when we were graduating high school, right around that time. And yeah, it just they hit at the right time, and I didn't really get into them until like a decade later. I think just Wonderwall got too much airplay, and it was that one song over and over and I was like, nope. So I checked out, and then I circled back a decade later, and I was like, wait a minute, I like this song, I like this song, I like this other song, I like this other song.
What's the best unknown Oasis song?
Unknown
to like, because Wonderwall, and then if I had to choose another one, I might be. I have nothing against them, but I might be stretching to try to name another one. But so like, what is the one? It's like, this is one, Aaron, you would have not heard of. This is a good one.
Well, what I'll say is that what they did for me that was really cool is rescue a couple of songs that weren't like my favorites, and like now I hold them in higher regard having heard them live. And like one of them was Rock and Roll Star, which I just like hearing that thing live, and everybody's screaming along to it, and it was just a perfect vibe for a live show. And that's the other thing, like it's a crowd of like, they're filling MetLife Stadium. They filled the Rose Bowl. They're just like,
it's because Gen Xers now have like found their way out of debt, and
well, I think what a lot of it is that it was this slow burn because they broke up and they couldn't keep their crap together for the longest time. They were always fighting on stage. The shows were getting canceled. And then they broke up, and it didn't look like they were ever getting back together again. And they finally got back together. And I think like just all this anticipation had built for so many people, especially for people who'd never gotten to see them live, like me. And I was just like, I gotta go. And Kate was like, yeah, we gotta go.
And was it the all original members, or is it just the Gallagher brothers and a backup band?
It's a couple of the other key guys.
Okay.
Like Bonehead is one of them. The guy goes by Bonehead, and
that gets to be one of my kind of deal breakers. It's like how much of the band is left over. I mean, let's be honest. If you don't have the Gallagher brothers' voices, then it's like, why would you go? It's.
And they sounded great. They sounded like it hadn't been,
Good.
30, 40 years since they started. They just sounded amazing. Like the top show for me, like greatest concert I've been to.
Wow.
So that actually makes me ask a question, Aaron. What would be a bucket list concert that you haven't been to that if they said they're coming out, you have to go?
What is
like an artist, a musician, a band that they say, we're coming, we're performing, and you're like, what, they're not coming here, but I'm going to fly out to see them.
And they would have to have like all the original members and such.
But mostly. Let's go as much as possible, given the realities of rock and roll lifestyle.
I will tell you, if Pearl Jam didn't come to Jazz Fest, we would have traveled. We were talking about that. It's like we were going because, and New Orleans, it's interesting. Found out we get missed because because it's not like you can drive through New Orleans to another big. You kind of have to go south to go north, type of a deal. But yeah, if they hadn't come to Jazz Fest, I would have gone because I haven't seen them enough. The one I will say, what I'm really grateful that I saw. Well, we saw Fleetwood Mac about, I suppose, probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago. We've seen them since, but it was with Lindsey Buckingham and it was the entire full lineup. And we actually only saw them for 45 minutes because Mick Fleetwood got sick. And they then said, okay, show's over, which gets me to another story, which we don't have time for, but I did not feel gypped at all. It was like 45 minutes, and it was just like, it was incredible. Rush was another one. I saw Rush on their final tour. So that was the first time I'd ever seen them. And
I saw REM on their final North American tour.
you know, Britt and I talked about that. It's like, man, when we were in college, we did not take advantage of going to concerts, you know.
Yeah. We're poor, right? You think about that. Like,
but I mean,
age,
people were going to Omaha to the Ranch Bowl to see Pearl Jam right after 10 got released for probably about $10. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones came and played at, you know, in Lincoln, you know, so it's not like big stadium things, but it's like we could have gone and seen more of these groups that we liked. It's just, I don't know why we didn't. So I guess we're making up for lost time. But anyway, I will say the band that I could care less to see because they don't have one key member, and that is Journey. That is Journey. I don't care how much the guy sounds like Steve Perry. It's not Steve Perry. So I don't want to. I just don't want to. So
yeah, it's one of those like kind of like Hall and Notes. You'll never see that show ever again because they don't get along. Period.
So
You know. But yeah, no, I think that's, I mean, just to that point, I just think it's the reality of life when you have the time and the opportunity, but you don't have the money or the resources. And then when you do develop the resources and the money, you just don't have the time, or the people you want to see have either not around, they're broken up, they're shuffled up the mortal coil, a million and one reasons, you know, for why that doesn't happen. Timing's got to be everything.
one last thing before we get into our trivia. Do you guys have HBO Max
Yes.
or access to it? Watch the documentary Yacht Rock.
Oh, really?
Oh my God in heaven. Is it so intriguing? It's like how that whole term started, and then they explain, like, this is going to be when we do our favorite things. This is going to be like at the top of our list. So spoiler alert, but they talk about the genetic code that what makes something yacht rock and what doesn't. And some of it is, you know, musical nerd stuff, but another is just, I don't want to give away, but if you just, watch it. It's so entertaining. I've watched it like now about 3 times because I'm sitting there going, God, I can't, I just love it. So yes, can't recommend enough. It's fun. And the ending of it is awesome. But I won't give that away. And I can't say it because Dave would bleep me out. I'd get a McClunky. So, but yes, HBO Max, Yacht Rock, watch it. So, yeah.
Okay, Aaron, so we'll us out of old dad music corner and take us into Star Wars trivia.
There we go. Time for some trivia. Oh, by the way, tonight we're going to be talk about old man stuff. We're going to talk about nostalgia a little bit. So, in a kind of a weird twist here. But all right. So, Dave, you're first. Oh, come on. All right. Lobbeth thou thy holy hand grenade. Get ready to hit this one over the fence to the Philly Karen. Who serves as governor of the Imperial Outland regions during the construction of the first Death Star? Who serves as governor of the Imperial Outland regions during the construction of the first Death Star? You look like you're overthinking this question.
I guess I'll go with Tarkin.
It is Grand Moff Tarkin, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oof.
Don't think, don't blink on that one. It was very much the meat down the middle.
I started going into like Rogue One and stuff, and I'm like, no, this doesn't have anything to do with that. So.
All right, well, Fredo, I guess of all of these possible questions, I mean, we've had several around this same event. This one's probably the easiest. I'll say that one. Which of the Genosian arena beasts readily snaps a pike in half with his toothy jaws? Which of the Geonosian arena beasts readily snaps a pike in half with its toothy jaws?
Yeah, and here's the problem. I just can't think of the name. The one that looks like a praying mantis.
That's a half credit. Okay.
Is
Dave,
that right?
do you know the name?
Well, the praying mantis is the Acklay, right?
It is. Yep. Was the Acklay. Yep.
I didn't know there were any pikes there.
Well, remember Obi-Wan was stabbing at it with something.
Oh, I thought you meant like the race of the
No,
drug dealers.
lowercase p. Sorry. All right. Aha. A little softball to me. What Imperial officer brings his fleet out of hyperspace too close to the Hoth system? What Imperial officer brings his fleet out of hyperspace too close to the Hoth system? And he's in the picture just right there. Nope, that's Anthony Daniels. He's over there a little bit. That would be Admiral Ozzel. Yes, Admiral Ozzel came out of the system too close. Ta-da! All right.
He felt surprise was wiser.
He's as clumsy as he is
Stupid.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, actually, so we talked about going to see A New Hope in theaters, 50th anniversary, stuff like that. That is one of the things that worries me anymore, is people repeating lines.
Oh.
Because, like, I went and saw Caddyshack in the theater, like, it was, theater in Kearney, in Nebraska, they, just basically played a DVD, but anyway. But I don't mind people saying the lines as they happen, but when you say the joke like 2 seconds before the actor does that, it's so annoying. And that's what I worry about with some of the Star Wars stuff. So,
Well, I don't think it's going to quite turn into Rocky Horror or Priscilla who doesn't just yet. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, people have seen these movies tens of thousands of times. They're going to get stuck in the certain lines at least.
but anyway,
I'd be very worried at the hello there's.
there's only one.
Hello? No, but I'm saying the whole audience going
Talk
hello
about
there
something.
at the same time.
Talk about something that was overdone. Anyway, let's not get on a rant on this one. All right, Fredo, go to the news.
All right, let's start with the news. So, the Primetime Emmys were on over the last weekend. Congratulations to all the winners. Amongst them was Andor, which was nominated for like 14 Emmys. It won 4. None of the acting categories, but it did win Outstanding Production Design for a narrative, period, or fantasy program. Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes. Outstanding Picture Editing for a drama series, which is, I mean, when you consider it's going up against other drama series, it's something. And Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a season or movie. So, congratulations to all the cast and crew. You're in an Emmy Award-winning show.
Star Wars still winning Star Wars stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, in their defense, actually, I want to say there was an article Variety had put out like their list of who they predicted to win. And when they got to Best Drama Show, they said, because they have like, who do they think they'll win and who should win? And interestingly enough, they said they expected Severance to win because it'd been like the highest nominated. They said the biggest surprise would be maybe if The Pit took it. And then they said, but who should win is Andor, which I'm like, when Variety of all people are saying this show was good enough to take home the big prize. Anyway, congratulations once again. And
Star Wars is still typecast in a way. Like, oh, we'll give it the technical awards, but not the
acting, directing.
Yeah,
all the big ones. Well,
what do you think? What do you think it would take? Is there anything on the top of your mind that it would take? Or
honestly,
maybe a couple of shows like Andor, right? Like just like boom, 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 to get to a point where there's momentum and people just can't deny it anymore.
It's not as cartoony. Yeah.
Can I be honest? Somebody died. The only thing I could think of is something like Heath Ledger's untimely passing. Yeah, passing.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, that Because otherwise, I mean, he would have been nominated. I think he would have been nominated for certain. I'm not sure they would have given it to him if he had been in that audience. That they would have been like, "Oh, he's still young. He's got time." But
That was
the
pretty
fact that
incredible, though.
oh no, it was
Yeah.
awesome. Again, trust me, I've no bones with him winning it. I'm just saying, had he been in that audience, I think the Academy would have been like, it's a comic book movie, and we got time. Give it to somebody else. That's how they think. So, but both switching tracks from that. Uh, neither one of y'all had 2.7 million pounds or $3.4 million in your pocket because unfortunately, that's what it took to buy Darth Vader's lightsaber from Star Wars. So remember a few weeks back we mentioned about the auction that was going to take place for this movie and TV memorabilia. So in Los Angeles, back in last week, the auction finally happened, and the big prize winner was Darth Vader's lightsaber from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Prop Store put it up for auction, and it raised a grand total. Now I'm reading this from the Guardian, so it's coming in British sterling pounds, which is 2.7 million in US dollars. Let me just make that right quick transition. Is $3.65 million.
The
Obviously, private collector. They didn't announce just cut out that check.
the best meme I saw, maybe you sent it, but the best meme that I saw was, the news bit of that saying it sold for $3.4 million, and then below it was Indiana Jones saying it belongs in a museum. So honestly, I do take the Indiana Jones route on this, where I think I I wish there was a museum where I could go look at Star Wars props. I mean, these things do belong in a museum, and whether or not that's George Lucas's museum that he's building, that's being built in Los Angeles, you know, or just like I said, but I would pay for a plane ticket and entry to go to a museum like that if I got to go see Star Wars props.
I'm honestly, before Dave comes in, I'm saying I'm kind of surprised that Disney, who has no problems doing everything it can to preserve its history, whatever, hasn't designed a whole wing, like a museum wing at one of their parks, which is like, here's all the stuff from our animation side, there's all the stuff that now we own through Lucasfilm, from Marvel, costumes, props, sets, original art, whatever. All this stuff that is just sitting in warehouses that you could just go put a big building, put a big warehouse, put it up in nice shiny lights, describe it, and ask people to pay 25, $30 to go see it.
They could have converted Star Wars Prison into a museum with all of these items in it. Yeah,
I
that would have
mean,
been fun.
yeah, I just would, or of course they probably don't want a bunch of people going out to Skywalker Ranch, but it's like you could build an annex, where people who you can see the ranch off in the distance, and you get to, go through the museum of, because they've got a big, big like garage full of all that stuff that they, when they made Force Awakens, they show. I mean, in the documentary, they show them going in there and seeing those things. So I wish that was more on display. They did that. They did it at the Smithsonian, the Myth and the Magic, Magic of Myth or whatever. Because I got the posters back here. We went and saw some of that stuff, and it was cool. Like I said, I'd love to see more of it.
ILM, I think it was, posted an image on social media recently where they took a bunch of old props and made it into a Star Wars like hangout room, which is basically like the Millennium Falcon. And I was like, yes, I would like to hang out in there with those people and in that environment. But yeah, I think there's a market for that.
Again,
I
like I
would.
said,
I don't know that I would travel specifically for the one thing, like to see memorabilia. But if there was another hook, like you said, maybe a tour of Skywalker Ranch, or maybe there was a con going on in that location that you could go to or attend, some kind of an event, then yeah, I would check that out for sure.
Well, that kind of what I was suggesting, the idea of maybe building a museum at one of the parks, Disney parks. Like imagine
Hmm.
like because I mean you go to Orlando, it starts raining, rides break down. You want to get out of the heat,
Yeah, but I
get
mean,
inside and goes.
yeah, I don't necessarily know if that's the place for. I mean, I could see a big. I mean, like think about our World War II museum here. I mean, you could see. I mean, you could see a museum where it's like on this level it's A New Hope, on this level it's Empire Strikes
Empire.
Back, on this level, or prequels, original trilogy, sequels, whatever.
TV.
It's I man.
Hey, since the Army has rejected Tom Hanks, maybe we can get Tom Hanks to come in and finance a
There you go.
Star Wars museum for everyone.
I don't know, guys. We got an idea. Maybe we just need to get a GoFundMe and convince Lucasfilm. So
And Tom Hanks.
And Tom Hanks. I will say, just to move it off right quick, you mentioned Indiana Jones. They did also auction his whip from or Indiana Jones' whip from the Last Crusade. Went for $500,000.
so how much does it cost? It's bought by some dominatrix in New Orleans. How much does it cost to get whipped by the Indiana Jones whip?
They charge you $10 a pop. 20 if you wanted
Every
to sit
more,
on like it.
way more than
And
$10.
they would make money hand over fist too. There's probably enough guys that would, and women, whatever. That would
We don't judge.
Indiana Jones's whip. So
Righto, you're underselling it, man.
I probably am, but look, I'm trying to make quick cash here. Merchandising. Uh, right quick, a few weeks ago, it was officially announced the full cast and details that Star Wars Starfighter has begun production in the United Kingdom. Principal production has been wrapped up on Mandalorian and Grogu. They're in post production now, looking for their release date sometime next year. In the meantime, uh, Lucasfilm put out the press release stating that obviously Sean Levy, the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, will direct this movie. Stars Ryan Gosling. It also stars Matt Smith, Glenn
uh
Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre, Simon Bird, Jamel Westman, Daniel Inks, and Amy Adams, which is interesting. And Amy Adams
well,
is in this, but okay, cool.
I got to
And
tell
they
you
announced
when
that
they
the all
listed
new
it.
stand.
Sorry, we're out
Mhm,
of phase here. When they listed it, um,
mhm,
Amy Adams seemed like a late ad. It was like that was weird. It was like at the
mhm,
bottom. It was like and Amy Adams. But anyway,
mhm.
so go ahead.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so no, so film has begun production in the UK. It's an entirely original story set according to the Star Wars release, set in a period of time never before explored. And it will release theatrically in theaters on May 28, 2027, coincide with the 50th anniversary of A New Hope.
Uh,
Obviously, they
two
got some
things.
quotes from Sean Levy, and we'll see.
Two things.
Mhm.
One, do you think they'll have a double feature where two maybe it but and then two,
Mhm.
I'm still in denial that there's a movie until I see a trailer. Same thing with Mandalorian and Grogu. Until I see a trailer, I'm not gonna put any money down. So
I'll let Dave go, then I'll answer.
Mandalorian and Grogu, that's a pretty good bet at this point. Like if we'd, I guess if we'd heard anything negative about it, you would be hearing about reshoots, like either before now or now, right?
Mhm.
They'd be like, we're calling everyone back, and we're gonna be filming some more. Then you could be like, oh, I
Mhm.
don't know, like the sound of that, but I think that movie's pretty much just a go. But I hear you. I hear you on the whole trailer thing.
Oh,
Likewise, this movie is happening, right? Like they're filming it now. If they're
so that
filming it,
so they
mhm.
say,
No, it's in production. They're in the UK
so they
at Pinewood
say.
Studios. But here's why I think it will happen. Two reasons. Reason number one,
This is how conspiracy theories are
true.
created, is because you burn somebody enough times, then they don't believe you when it's the Chicken Little thing, but anyway, go ahead.
But I will say that
And
okay,
by the
maybe
way,
I'll,
I
I'll
believe that these movies are coming out. I'm just being funny.
yeah, Yeah, Mandalorian and Grogu is happening. We've already got. I mean, they showed footage already. We know it's going to happen. This movie, I think, pretty much is going to happen for one simple dumb reason. Star Wars Celebration 2027 is taking place a month in LA before this movie comes out. Probably like not even a whole month, like full month before release date. But it's going to take place in April in Southern California. They're going to be hammering the heck out of this. You're going to get a big trailer. The entire cast is going to be out there. If you do not have a final ready to go movie for the people going to descend on Southern California for celebration in 2027, you cannot sell enough nostalgia for the 50th anniversary of A New Hope to make up for the fact your movie just done got pushed to Christmas or whatever.
They have a lot. You're right. I mean, they have a lot of incentive to get this thing done and wrapped and out into
Mhm.
theaters. Um, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't rule out a double feature, right? You know?
It'd be interesting. I mean, right now it's interesting because the new Tron movie comes out next month, and they're doing a double feature of that one. And a lot of movies have actually doing a triple feature. I think of all three Tron movies. Try saying that three times fast.
Oh, you sounded
Uh,
Irish there for a second.
Slasher.
If I could have like about a 15-20 minute break, I'd do it.
Mhm.
I'd do a
Mhm.
double feature.
I've done the Oscar showcase that AMC does, like where they'll have like all five of the Best Picture nominees, like back to back to back to back, and they do give you bathroom breaks. Um, and that was a ball. I had so much fun doing that. But yeah, after about three, you're like, okay, I think I watched enough today for today. And they're
I
like,
need
here
to go
comes
do
number
something
4.
else.
So I think Scott Colby did the perfect one, which he did the Cornetto trilogy, all in one sitting, for the movie theater. And I'm like, that's probably the perfect set of movies to do in one sitting because it's three. They're funny, they're exciting, whatever, and then you're done. You're
Yeah.
not sitting there for 10, 12 hours. So I don't know if I could survive. So anyway, Mandalorian Grogu next year, Star Wars Starfighter the year after that. It'll be interesting to see if maybe their plan will be as one film finishes principal production to start saying, oh, now you got the next one on the line. Like maybe rather than announce the Marvel slate for the next decade, maybe they'll just go, okay, we got one in the can, one in the process. Here comes the next one, and look, we're just gonna announce one at a time because we done burned y'all and y'all don't trust us. Speaking of burning, and actually, this might be controversial. I don't know if have you guys seen this. So it was officially announced by Lego. The $1,000 Death Star has been revealed, or was revealed last week or so. It's going to go on sale starting on October 4th. Obviously, if you're a Lego Insiders member, you get early access on October 1st through October 3rd. It is a 9,023-piece set that has 38 minifigures, and yes, you heard correctly, it is going for the low, low price of $999.99. And here's what you get for it: you get a big slice of the Death Star, which has created all sorts of controversy. I don't know if you've heard of any of this, but
Oh,
basically, a lot of the people are mad because they thought, look, the
it
last time
looks
the
like
Death
it looks
Star.
like a big, just looks like a big diorama.
Hmm. Now, the last time there was a Lego Death Star set was the set that Ned was holding in Spider-Man
Hmm.
in Homecoming that he drops when he sees Peter dressed as Spider-Man for the first time. Which, if you remember, that was the whole sphere but exposed. You could see inside, you could see the various levels, whatever. In order to recreate that, what they've done is basically they created a slice of the Death Star. So it's not even in the back; it's not rounded;
So
it's
you
flat.
have to buy four to get like your complete Death Star.
No, no, there is no way to pick. There are no round pieces. There's no way to turn this into a fully functional, complete sphere. It's like
All right,
I'll send you the link. I'll
I
show
don't
you
want it.
the link to get.
I'm
Yeah,
out.
it
I'm
I'd
is
out.
it's
I'd more
it's
likely spend $3 million on the Darth Vader lightsaber than this. And this is I could probably scrape up the change to buy this Death Star, but I ain't no that you've lost me if it's wow.
now. Here's what I will say. In their defense, you do get it's a very playable set. You get elevators that move minifigures up and down. You get the
Who
throne
does
room.
that? Do even kids do that?
I mean, again, here's the problem. $1,000. Dave, you're the one with kids here. Have you ever considered spending $1,000 on one toy for one of your
No, because
kids?
he wants his kids to go to college. So
That
Yeah,
does take
yeah.
precedence. Yeah, like that. Healthcare. Yeah, food on the
it's
table.
like a
There
three
are
credit
other
hour
things.
class.
Oasis tickets take precedence.
Now, yeah, okay, so that's like fair.
Mhm.
Um,
Here, if you
we
want to
we
leave this
could have
information,
we
sure.
could have taken one of our kids with us. Like Olivia is a
No, but
fan,
here's the thing.
but
I wouldn't
that would have been a lot more money.
I wouldn't judge anybody for buying it. I'm just saying that it's like for $999, it's
That's
there's
not enough.
no,
So,
it's
so
No.
I'm showing it to you guys. This is what it looks like.
Yeah. It looks like they just cut a slice of the Death Star. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just a ring.
no, that sucks. Sorry.
Now, let me go back to the front. Like I said,
Of
you
all the
get
things of all the things Lego that has ever been made, this is lame.
now. I will say though, I mean, you can buy it right now. If you spend $130, you get this Sega Genesis controller set that
Oh
you can
well,
build.
that makes it worth it.
Don't you know? You know what's worse, and a lot of people are mad. The gift with so if you buy a big enough set, they come with gifts with purchase stuff that they incentivizes people for you to buy the set now. So, like for example, if you buy the Black Pearl Pirates of the Caribbean set that's coming next week, you'll get a
I'd much
set gift
rather
with
have
purchase
that.
of well, you'll get a Captain Jack's compass that you can build, or if you bought the steamboat, the river steamboat set elsewhere this year, you got the little dock for the steamboat built. The gift with purchase for this has been announced. It's a TIE fighter that fits into this hole right here, and a lot of people are suggesting that
That's
basically
that
they
sounded
took
funny.
that out. Well, they took the little TIE fighter out and they said, "Oh, we're giving this to you as an extra." And it was originally meant to come with the set. Then they just went, "No, no, no, no. We got to have something special for them." So, like I said, you have all these little dioramas and moments and whatnot. But again, for the price, now look, 9,000 pieces. Normally, people tell you it's 10 cents a piece, so it's about $900, and you always got to add a surcharge for any kind of major IP, Star Wars, Marvel. I had like a 10% surcharge. So, still, you're asking for
The
people to spend a
Millennium Falcon
thousand
is better.
dollar,
The Millennium Falcon is better than this.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm, and better display too. That's the other thing.
yeah.
Like, so yeah,
I tell you that here's my bone to pick with Lego. Okay.
mhm.
I don't think they have a good mid, like low tier expensive set. By that I mean you've got a lot of sets in like the $30 to $150 range that are sort of it's okay. Um, you don't have anything in the like 100 to 200 range where you're like, wow, that's really cool. I really want that. And that's the sweet spot.
Kind of the architecture line. I think was kind of
Yeah.
filled that niche for a while, but
To me, that's the sweet spot, right?
yeah.
The 100 plus range. You're like, well, I want to get something really nice. That's my budget, not $999.95. Like, no, that's it. That's too much.
I'm pointing behind me. You can see back there. I have the Pyramid of Giza set from the architecture line. That was $130, and I thought that was perfectly priced. And then right next to it, the Orca from Jaws. That was
Hmm.
160, and I was like, the moment I saw it when they were designing, I was like, getting that set day one because that looks awesome. And Jaws is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was like, I'm getting
Well,
that, and that one was a pain in the butt to build, but
so
I'll take that.
so here's the thing, and I know it's like and we got to get on to our main topic, but
Mm,
it's like you guys have both seen. I have Jabba Sail Barge, the HasLab thing that was
mm.
$500, and it was first time. It was my like first bonus from Google, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this thing, and because and that's $500, and that's I think has twice the
Like,
play value and display value that $1,000 Death Star does. Now, where people are going to go nuts, you're going to have people not buying that, but they're going to want to buy the figures. They're going
the
to want to buy
minifigs,
the
oh, big time,
minifigs. So
big time, big time.
And
Well, and again, it's the difficulty here is, and I even heard somebody say you could see some people try to buy it, not so much for the build or the whatever, but just saying they could. Like, okay, I am the ultimate like Lego collector, therefore I must show that I've obtained the precious. But when you start thinking about all the other such, I mean, you could buy both Barad-dûr and Rivendell from the Lord of the Rings for the price you're getting for this. You could buy a whole bunch of other sets, big sets, beautiful sets for the price of this one. And again, I don't know who is. I mean, with the Ultimate Collector series, I always kind of struggle because I'm like, you're asking for a premium price, but at some point I go like, who's this for? Because this is
yeah,
not to be played. This is to be displayed.
this is a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad because I don't have to spend the money on it.
You're
yeah,
not tempted.
that's the thing is that you probably when you heard that they were going to be releasing this, it probably you were like, oh man, they're built $1,000 Death Star, and your brain went like, well, this is going to be so cool. I imagine a three-dimensional thing, and
Oh yeah.
with hinges that I could open it up and then see that stuff, But this is the way this looks. When you see it, it's like sad trombone. Wah, wah, wah. It's like, well, good. I guess I get to save that $1,000. So it's like you have a best friend talking you out of it. So, yeah.
Oh, this is a series of dioramas, basically, right? So it like
Originally.
almost feels like you could sell it in sections if you wanted to, if they wanted to. And I don't know if they have any plans of doing that, but you could buy one little piece and then a next section and then the next section, and that'd be make it more feasible for people to actually
And you end up
engage with it.
spending $2,000 on the Death Star because they hiked the prices up on those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the thing is, they do exist. We do have Lego Star Wars diorama sets, whether it's
Yeah,
the
that.
throne room battle, the pod race on Tatooine, the Tantive 4 hallway assault. Those are exist, and they're like anywhere from $50 to $75. So again, if you wanted to just build a smaller version of that in a set that's going to cost you way more than those costs, I don't know. Plus, here's my other thing. One of the things you kind of avoid because you didn't give the sphere. I was thinking originally, okay, you're going to have all the sets that you're discussing, but also thought the opportunity would have been to kind of have some of the TIE fighters and X Wings flying above, like along the trench, like recreating that as well. You can't do that on
Yeah.
this. So
Well,
I don't know. It just feels like an opportunity lost, but then again, for the prize, this is not cheap. So I don't know. I really don't know who they're going to aim this for, but good luck to them. I will say I am still looking forward to the Captain Jack Sparrow's pirate ship, i.e. the Black Pearl. That one's only at the low price of $380. It is a steal of that.
and did you get it?
Oh no, it comes out next week.
You're thinking about it though. All right.
Oh yeah, big time.
So we'll be opening up a GoFundMe for Fredo's
That's right.
Lego habit. So, and and if you chip in an extra couple $10, then it'll buy Dave and I a beer. So, all right. So, all right. Is that it for news?
That's
It
it.
is. All right. So, Dave, you want to introduce this topic here for
Sure, I
tonight?
can do that.
Because I feel
We
like I'd mischaracterize it. So go ahead.
I wanted to get this topic onto our agenda for a while now because and the topic is in essence the worst nostalgia bait that we can think of in film and television.
Oh, film and television.
The
Crud.
yeah
I
the
ventured
worst.
into something else. So, oh well. I'll break the rules. Go
Well,
ahead.
you can go outward, right? Like we could do video games and books and culture, pop culture is fine, any pop culture. But the what inspired it for me was the Happy Gilmore sequel, which was just marketed relentlessly. I enjoyed the first movie. And when I saw that there was a sequel, I thought there's no way that this can be good. And yet it was marketed and marketed and marketed. And everybody in my feed, my social media feeds who had seen this film vouched for it, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, fine, right? Okay. I felt obligated. I didn't feel like I wanted to go
Oh, see,
watch
I
this thing.
rebel against those people, Dave. Even though I watched
Hmm.
the second Happy Gilmore movie, so
I felt like I had to watch it for fear of missing something, FOMO, and it was terrible. I mean, moderately bad. Let me not say terrible, right? Like I laughed once or twice. Um, and so like again, like that's the essence of what this is about. Like we're always really kind we're to the creators on this show. We always want to be we want to assume good intent. And I thought like, you know what? Let's just put our boxing gloves
see.
on and just destroy some things for a little
However,
while because
I will
like
say this was my caveat to this, and so I'll kick off the list because
yeah.
when I was going through this and I was trying to brainstorm and everything, I was like, this one. But I'm like, oh, but I enjoy that movie. Oh, this one. Oh, I enjoy that TV show. So a lot of my things I enjoy, but I see them as a blatant, like you said, nostalgia or cash grab, or and it's like there's a couple in here that
Yeah.
I really don't like, but there are many on here that, and so
And that's okay, right? We can go that direction. I just
so
think like if it's a cash grab and you know that it's a cash grab and it's fueled
all
by
right,
people's
so
nostalgia, then
first
it qualifies.
first one, I'll throw it out here, and I'm going to combine these two, and that is going to be the GI Joe and Transformers cartoons from the 80s. All that was about, first of all, the GI Joe was a nostalgia thing because I mean it was a popular toy, but it's a cash grab because it was all about selling toys. Nothing more than selling toys, because
Yes.
it was like this season all of a sudden there's Serpentor, and lo and behold, a month later you could buy Serpentor, if you say, send in 2 proofs of purchase from blah blah blah. So I mean those were all about the toys, and I enjoyed them. Like I said, I enjoyed the cartoons as a kid. I even would, if I'd watch them now, I'd probably still enjoy them. But it was nothing but a cash grab. And on GI Joe, I think also kind of a nostalgia, little bit of a nostalgia grab. So that might have not been my best one to throw out there because I have another one that might be controversial, but that was one
I'll
that came to my
bounce
brain.
I'll bounce right off of you and suggest that both the GI Joe movie and the Transformers movies qualify because they're so terrible and they
And they're going after what people remember from their cartoon days of elementary school.
and what makes it worse is the point that you just made, which is that those cartoons were just meant to sell toys. That's what they were. You go back and you watch them today, they're not great, people. They're 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 not great. Um, and to make movies based on those properties to cash in further, and not only that, to make movies that aren't great. The Transformers movie in particular, you get me going on those.
You know what I hate about those is that I could not tell when they started fighting. I couldn't tell who was fighting who. It was
Exactly.
one big blob of metal, and it was like I don't understand what's going on.
I need to be able to follow the action, right?
Yeah,
Like when you're watching, like for example, Star Wars, where they're swinging lightsabers at one another, you can see these brightly colored swords clashing, and you can kind of see, okay, he's going high, he's going low. I I understand what I'm seeing. I can process it. When you're seeing these gears and shifting arms and pieces of metal that you not is that a limb, what is that, I don't know, is that somebody's face,
well, you don't
and
know
they're
how
all the same
validated
color.
I feel right now because I've felt that way for the better part of 15 years or whatever it
I just
is.
think
Yeah.
they're so bad, they're so bad, and like I just think Michael Bay didn't understand the basics of like I got to make it more realistic or more believable, right?
So were
It's
those
like people don't want realistic or believable, they want robots punching each other.
so were those movies on your list originally?
Yeah, my list is like I don't know, usually you know how I do.
Okay,
It's
cool.
like 30 deep, right? Yeah,
Gotcha.
but yeah,
All
those
right.
movies are on there.
All right, Fredo. What do you got?
So first one, I'm kind of playing off of what you guys kind of discussing. I went for The Mummy 2017, so the Tom Cruise one, but I'm also adding slash the whole concept of dark universe. Why? For two reasons.
Oh,
The
start
movie
over.
one,
What is it again? I'm sorry. What'd you
Oh
say?
yeah, this is
dark
fun.
universe. You know what dark universe is, right, Aaron?
No, no, I'm gone.
Okay, so let me take you back to the heady days of 2017. The MCU is flying high.
Right.
DC is trying to make the Justice League, and every studio wants to have their own shared cinematic universe. Well, what was the original shared cinematic universe? The Universal horror monsters. So, what does Universal, in its wisdom, do? Well, they're trying to reboot the Mummy, not just reboot the 1999 Rachel Weisz, Brendan Fraser classic, but the original. So they get Tom Cruise, and they're going to make a modern version of the Mummy with I forget the name of the actress from Kingsman and Star Trek Three. Anyway, uh, they decide that they're going. This is going to be the start of their dark universe, in which they're going to get Russell Crowe to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They're gonna get Johnny Depp. I believe he was gonna be either the Wolfman or the Invisible Man. So they had all these. They're gonna get somebody else to play Dracula. So they had all these ideas that they're going to kickstart a whole shared cinematic universe because that's what's hot right now. Surprise, surprise! That Mummy movie comes out, and I think it made some money internationally, but people just did not respond well to it. It was not well made. It was clearly made as a cash grab, playing on the nostalgia that a lot of people had for the Mummy as a brand, but also the idea that look, kids, what if even if you don't like this Mummy movie, we're setting up all these other movies with the big name stars, and I'm just like, but if you don't give us one that works and we like, nobody's gonna care. So again, try to be nostalgia, and it bombed in their faces.
You know what I'll tell you about this movie? I'll ask you a question, which is, do you feel it's an unmitigated failure,
Mhm.
like their experiment here, and the film itself is a failure, and everything about this like reeks of desperation. Did you actually hate the movie when you watched it, or were you just sort of ambivalent towards it?
It, honestly, it bored me. It wasn't. I mean,
Yeah.
which is weird because again, this normally Tom Cruise. I mean, okay, maybe the last Mission Impossible movie wasn't the greatest, and it was a bit too long, if I'm honest. But yeah, action movies, Tom Cruise, he's gonna literally throw himself out of an airplane for you if you let him in order to make this believable. But this was not interesting. They were doing that kind of thing where they were filming half of the movies taking place. I mean, there's a movie called titled The Mummy, and a whole bunch of those movies taking place in either airplanes or in forests in what you call it in Canada, which will bring me to another movie down my list. But yeah, it just felt like it was the kind of thing where you're like, if you didn't title it The Mummy, if you had titled it anything else, design any other kind of monster, whatever, it wouldn't have mattered. It would not have, there's nothing here tying this to either, like I said, the 1999 movie or even the 1930s Universal classic with Boris Karloff. This is called The Mummy only because they wanted to, again, kickstart this whole dark universe thing because I think if you go now to the new Universal Park, Dark Universe is the name of their Universal Monsters
That's
park
right.
section of
Okay.
that park. So
Yeah. By the way, as a side note, every time Dave takes off his headphones and step away, all I envision is him leaning out the door saying, "You kids, shut up, or you're all going to bed." um, but all right. Well,
It's usually a little more benign than like closing the door or getting my phone from the other room or something like that. But yeah.
so I like I said, I broke the rules. I'm going to deviate from TV and movies on this next one, and I hope our friends from the Nerd Cave Retro is listening to this. But I'm going to say Super Pac-Man.
Oh, fun.
Because you mentioned sequels, and so
Yes.
you had Pac-Man, which was revolutionary, Miss Pac-Man, which a lot of people would say is better than Pac-Man. Then you came out with Super Pac-Man, and it was awkward and bad. I just remember playing it in the arcade and just going, "This is confusing, not fun." And Pac-Man is huge, and I don't understand it was just to try to keep the money going, riding the Pac-Man wave. So, yeah. So Super Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Was that the one that was
touched on?
Was that
What?
the one that was also kind of part pinball machine?
Oh my gosh!
Maybe?
Now you're stretching my brain because I know there was some pinball folded in at some point,
So
and
anyway,
there've been about 50 sequels at this point. I mean, of course there have been, right? Because those games came out in the 80s, but Super Pac-Man came out early on in the Pac-Man craze.
like I said, I think it was third.
Yeah. And it was, like you said, you touched on the key point, like the key element, which is that Pac-Man is gigantic, right? Like, or
But
you get a power up that makes him gigantic.
And he's bigger than the tunnel that he's going through. It just was
Right. And then you can't figure out the dynamics of when should I turn, or like, can I fit through that gap? And all of the physics are broken at that point. And yeah, it's not a lot of fun. I agree with you.
So not a nostalgia thing, but it was, like I said, a bad sequel. So,
Yeah.
but I will venture back into video games in a little bit. So, but we'll pass it off to Dave now for his.
I appreciate you doing the video game thing too, because I didn't even like really think of that. I got fixated on movies. And to be fair, there's a lot of really bad movies. Like we could probably make this show a couple hours if we wanted to, but I have to mention this one because Kate brought it up the other night when I was like, well, this is our topic, what comes to mind for you? She brought it up, and I hate this movie with the passion of 1,000 Suns, and I don't think it came along far enough after the original property to really qualify as nostalgia, but it was definitely a cash-in attempt, and it was a sequel, and it was Son of the Mask, which, if you saw the original Mask, if you remember the Mask, not the movie from the 80s, but the one with Jim Carrey, where he puts the green mask on his face, and then he turns into like a superhero, right? And that came out in the early 90s when Jim Carrey was like at his peak, right? Like I think The Mask came out, Dumb and Dumber.
94.
Yeah.
1994, that year, Ace Ventura. Yeah.
Ace Ventura. All these movies came out like basically all at once, and he was just the biggest star for a while there. The Son of the Mask was a sequel attempt that didn't feature Jim Carrey. It was about like a guy, a bad dad, and his baby. I guess he gets the mask, and then the baby gets the mask, and I defy anyone to watch more than 15 minutes of this movie without turning it off. It's so bad.
I just added to my list, so after we get past Fredo, I have one I think that would rival badness. But anyway, so
when you know how I do my comic book movie rankings, right? This is the bottom of the list. This is the number one winner of worst comic book movie, and I don't think it will ever be topped. I will not watch this thing to completion unless you pay me, and it has to be a large sum of money. If somebody wants to get a GoFundMe going so that we can watch this movie, all of us.
Oh, then we'll do a double feature. Actually, no, I don't want to do this double feature. So, yeah. That's how much I feel about this other one that I've just added to my list.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me money to sit through that one. Anyway, go ahead.
That's the only way. That's the only way I would watch this thing, is if somebody literally paid me to do it. And even then I would be working for that money, because it irked me that much. I hate this movie. And everyone who decided to attach themselves to this piece of garbage, you've made better choices. I'm sorry.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Fredo.
So actually, I'm going to play off of what you introduced, Aaron. I'm going to throw another movie that I'm pretty sure would rank pretty low on Dave's list, and this will make a horrible triple feature of whatever you're about to introduce. Uh, Pixels, the Adam
Oh,
Sandler movie from 2015. Talking about Adam Sandler bad movies. This is so.
talking
If
about
you
video
again
games.
talk about video games and nostalgia baiting. This is a movie about how Adam Sandler is a doofus who not going anywhere in life, but his best friend rises up to become president of the United States. His best friend being what's his name, Kevin James, and they get the Earth gets
Seven Shades.
invaded by aliens, but the only way that they're invading, having kind of like the whole idea of the signals that are going to space and aliens absorbing them and thinking that's our culture. So they attack us with Pac-Man and Space Invaders and Centipede. So the only people who can save the world are these 40-year-old dudes who played all these video games from way back in the day to stop them. And I just went, okay, you're playing on the nostalgia of all the video games from our youth, but you're also doing it in the worst way possible.
You
This
know,
was not a fun movie. This is the kind of movie you watch on an airplane and you go, please, Lord, let us fly into a mountain. You know,
that's interesting. Because when I was doing some research, trying to get my brain started on compiling a list, and I was like looking for other people's like nostalgia bait type things, and one of them that kept coming up was Ready Player One, which
that was
is
on my list. That was on my
it is
list
on your
too.
list. Okay, because I mean, yes, that is full. That is nothing but nostalgia, but there's an interesting story that goes along with it, and so that's where like I said, it's like some of these things. It's like there's one on my list that would probably shock the hell out of you guys, and when we get to it, but because it's like, yes, it is nostalgia bait, but I like it, and it's and as long as they're using it to tell a good story, um, then I think I'll allow it. It's like, because that whole
Lie.
thing, that whole movie. I'm sorry, this wasn't about Ready Player One, but that whole movie is about using the Oasis to escape, to
Right.
escape reality. And so, how do you escape? You escape into the things that made you happy when you were a kid, and the longing for days gone by and stuff like that. So it made sense. But yeah, so anyway, I've never seen Pixels, so yeah,
Yeah, no, again,
guess I'm
this
not
is
gonna.
it's one of those things, yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, you can always tell when Adam Sandler's really got to a point where he's just cranking up. Kind of like Happy Gilmore too. Is like, I'm just hanging out with my buddies, making the silliest movie I can. They're gonna pay somebody's gonna pay me a truckload of money, and then I'm gonna go home and never have to think about this ever
Well,
again. And I mean,
An
what is it,
obscene
Chris?
amount of money. He's like, I will earn an obscene amount of money doing this stupid movie with my friends, and then I don't ever have to think about it again. And yet, the general populace will be subjected to it repeatedly
well, I will tell
on
you,
cable television.
I've never seen Pixels, but I did see Happy Gilmore 2, and that Happy Gilmore 2 is Citizen Kane compared to what I've just added to my list, because okay, it's not nostalgia, but I like along yours, Dave. It it wasn't too far removed from the first one to like I said, be called nostalgic, but it was definitely a cash grab on something that was popular, and it was effing awful, and that is Caddyshack 2. I have never gotten through that entire movie. I started feeling physically ill halfway through, and I just turned it off. And I don't know if it was the movie making me ill or what, but it was awful. And that was, they I don't even want to talk about it anymore. DeFredo,
So,
you can say what you want to say about it, but then we can move on,
no,
because
no, no,
it's
no, no.
just
I was
effing
just gonna
awful.
say, you want to know the perfect way to see Caddyshack 2 is the way I did it.
Well,
See it at age 9 before you've seen Caddyshack. So
no,
find a way to
God.
find, no, no. What I'm saying is find the time machine, go back to bring 9-year-old Aaron, show him Caddyshack 2. Because what's going to happen is you have no basis for how good Caddyshack can be. So the awfulness of Caddyshack 2 doesn't hit you as bad. You just go,
No,
man, this is kind of a weird movie. But again, because as a 9-year-old, all the bad jokes sail over your head. You just care about the little gopher. That's all you care about. It's silly.
I
And then you watch Caddyshack a few years later and you go, this has nothing to do with the other one. These
every
are two, they exist in separate universes.
every copy of Caddyshack 2 should be destroyed. Like George Lucas
E.T.,
said
the
about
video game.
the holiday special. It is just actually the holiday special looks like, terms of endearment compared to Caddyshack
Aaron
2.
wants to take all copies of Caddyshack 2 and bury them alongside E.T., the Atari game, out in the Arizona desert.
So anyway, Caddyshack 2 has just entered my list. All right, so that's
I appreciate that the holiday special got a name drop here because, like, if we're going to be fair, this is a Star Wars podcast. That's about the worst example we could probably come up with for Star Wars cash grabs.
cash grab that's bad. I have one on my list that's cash grab that is good.
Oh,
So anyway,
that's a nice tease. That's a nice tease.
But I'm not going to give that one next. We're going to save that to the end. So Dave, you're up next.
Gosh, again, like I said, I usually come into this with a bunch of options because I don't want to do repeats if I can avoid it. But I will say, and I don't think that you guys will have this one, so I think I'm safe using it. The Space Jam sequel with LeBron James
That's safe.
was just an utter failure of a movie and just a pale imitation of the first movie. And the first movie...
one of the Nebraska defensive backs was in that Space Jam movie.
Which one?
The one you're talking about.
The second one.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That sucks.
He's a pretty good defensive back. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, he sucks by association. I'm sorry. Because that movie is so bad. It's terrible. And, again, it suffers from the same thing that we talked about with Transformers and G.I. Joe, which is, the original concept was already just basically a marketing ploy. That was what the original Space Jam was. I'm sorry to break it to anybody who's a huge fan of the original Space Jam, our millennial friends who, watched that when they were kids. Yeah, no, that was an attempt to market Michael Jordan to little kids, right? This is so much more callous. And it's basically to
this generation needs their Space Jam, and they don't know who Michael Jordan is. That was the reason of making it, most likely.
It was LeBron James's ego.
Yeah.
Well, I'm as good as Michael Jordan was, so I should have my own Space Jam movie, right? And it just, he cast his whole family in it. None of them can act, and it's not good, man. It's really not good. The best part of that movie was Pennywise makes a cameo in the background crowd, right? They throw all these randos in the crowd so that you can kind of search for all the different characters in the crowd. You're like, oh, look, there's Waldo. There's Pennywise. Pennywise is just sitting there, right? You kind of hope that he'll come out and he'll murder everybody, but no, sadly, no. No more Space Jams. We're done. We're all done here.
Fredo.
I mean, you don't want to see one in 20 years' time with Victor Wembanyama or the son of Zion or whoever. No, okay, or Bronny. No. All right. So for my next one, I kind of mentioned the Woods of Toronto, so I'll have to throw this in. This one, I'm pretty sure this one, if you were to look at Dave's superhero movie list, this ranks pretty low. Now, I will say I understand why it was made because of movie rights and whatever. The Fantastic Four movie with Michael B. Jordan. Made by Gus Frank. I mean, first of all, nostalgia bait because it is playing now. It was coming just a decade after the Tim Story movies where Chris Evans was the Human Torch, those ones. They needed to make another movie, otherwise the rights reverted back to Marvel. So what did they do? John Trank, the director, writer-director, had just made Chronicle with Michael B. Jordan, and they wanted him to make it. So what do? They make a 90-minute mess where they spend 80 of those 90 minutes running through the woods of Toronto, getting like there's a little bit of body horror into this that's kind of original, but the rest of this is just a mess. And what they do with Doctor Doom, if there's one lesson I hope Kevin Feige learned is don't screw that up. Now we'll see next year whether or not they screw that up or not. But I was just, you talk about nostalgia, trying to play on people's, you got to see these characters, they're for a new generation. And again, it felt very much a movie that was paint by numbers, that was very generic, that they needed to get something out in order for Sony or for Fox to retain the IP rights. And it's also drab and ugly looking. It's again, this is one of those movies where if you had decided to call these anything else, you couldn't have told that this was the Fantastic Four.
It's really bad. And like the cardinal sin, and you touched on this with Doom. The cardinal sin is that it gets the characters wrong. Like these are not the characters that you know and love from the comics, and they're wrong. And it's like, okay, then why are we here? Why did you call it Fantastic Four? Why didn't you call it something else? I just think like it's so off the mark. And again, like you said, the body horror stuff, it tried to do something different, and they knew that the original Fantastic Four movies weren't good either. You had Roger Corman's effort. That wasn't good either. So credit them for trying something different, but like you don't have to reinvent the wheel to get it right, as this summer's Fantastic Four movie showed us, I think.
Well, don't go any further. I still haven't seen that yet. So
yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump into my next one, and actually I'm going to go. It's something that we're all very excited for. I'm going into the future with this one. And I'm going to say that Spaceballs 2 is probably going to be on this list at that point. Like I said, when that was announced, we all got excited, but then the more you sit and think about it, it's like this has nothing but bad written all over it. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Spaceballs isn't exactly the greatest bit of comedy. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it as a kid. There's some parts that I still find, really funny, but this just could end up being just kind of sad. So we don't have to talk more about it. If you want to, go ahead. But I cheated a little bit and went into the future, and I just think but the thing that's funny is that it plays right into what it is a nostalgic cash grab. I think that's what Mel Brooks would say about it.
Yeah. And if they lean into that in the movie, that would be good. Those will probably be some of the best bits in the movie if they lean into that self-awareness of it. I mean, the original Spaceballs is nobody's favorite Mel Brooks movie, right? I mean, there might be a few people out there who've not seen some of his other movies, but it's got some very quotable lines. I mean, yeah. There's some things about it that are just endlessly entertaining. But yeah, you're right, man. That could go sideways real fast. So anyway, I toss it to you, Dave. I think I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Indiana Jones movie that doesn't exist.
4 or 5. Because neither one of those exists for me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. 5 exists. 4 doesn't. 4 never happened. If you want to talk about Crystal Skulls, we don't need to, like that's not a thing that, we don't talk about that. It made a lot of money at the box office because people thought, hey, Indiana Jones, all right, I'm ready for this. So like the calculation was correct. They were like, the nostalgia bait will work. we will get Indiana Jones back on screen, and people will go watch it. And
it
but
was
they
not a good
didn't.
movie. Yeah.
They didn't put together a good movie, and I hate that movie. I and you know what's funny
you've
about
seen
it?
the South Park episode where they reference this, right?
Oh, probably,
All right,
but
well, I'm not
yeah,
going to mention it here, but it is
yeah.
hilarious. Anyway,
I think what they did wrong, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the show. I probably have mentioned this on the show because this is the thing that sort of like gets me like going about this about Indiana Jones, is that you don't try to explain the mystical aspects of the story in Indiana Jones. They're just there. They exist, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to explain how the arc works and how it like taps into God, and then that's, you know, there's a lightning effect and all these things, you know. No, you don't explain all that. You just see it unfold, and you're like, oh, wow, I don't understand that, but visually, I can process what I'm seeing. Unlike Transformers, um, and in this movie, they were like, we're gonna explain everything. They're aliens. Aliens exist, and here they come, and here are the aliens. And no, man. No, like you don't even understand what you're talking about. Like that's not Indiana Jones. That's not it. Sorry, man. That just, yeah. No, yeah, that had to be listed because I
I
hate it
agree.
so much.
It's one of those like, particularly to me, the biggest problem with 4 and 5, but particularly 4, is that if you were to take the Indiana Jones trilogies that existed in the 80s, it was like the perfect trilogy. Like it was just complete and it was nice. And this kind of went like, okay, we've got more stories, which is nice at first, but then you go like, but it's not really, it wasn't hitting. So anyway, I'm gonna kind of go with another uh, Spielberg project, and I'm just gonna throw out all of these movies all in one jump, which are the Jurassic World movies. Look, Jurassic Park in 1994 was iconic. Everybody and their mama went to see it. It was awesome. Lost World a few years later. Okay, less iconic, but good. And Jurassic Park 3 gets lost in the shuffle, but it still has the pterosaur scene in the drawbridge, and there's a few moments that are actually quite fun and scary. They try, and I get it. Look, you try, you're sitting on this IP, you want to bring it back, you want to put it in theme parks, you want to sell merch. Kids love dinosaurs. Cool. But basically, they just simply went, everything you saw in the last 3 movies didn't, we're ignoring it. We're building a new park, and look, here it goes, and we're repeating everything again. And a lot of people, complain about Force Awakens basically just rehashing A New Hope. Jurassic World rehashes Jurassic Park way worse. Okay, maybe they move it a bit forward, and the park's been successful, but then it's like, no, we gotta develop even cooler and meaner and deadlier dinosaurs than the T-Rex uh, and then the Raptors, and now we're gonna have Chris Pine doing his thing. It's like, okay. And then they started adding in even wackier stuff, and at this point, I'm just like, okay, I mean, fine, but nobody gets into these movies not thinking of the original Jurassic Park, and every one of these movies is basically just saying, hey kids, remember how those fun that movie was? Well, we're trying to do that now, but with better special effects and with Chris Pine. And I'm just like, or now actually now it's with Scarlett Johansson. So like, who cares? Don't get me wrong. I'm fine with you trying to bring a new IP back to life, but there's a reason why every one of those movies ends with humans running away from the island and going, and we will leave the dinosaurs alone because man's not meant to be with them. So all the new movies just took them.
They have a new cartoon that's pretty good, aimed at kids, and you can watch that. And our kids have watched some of that stuff, and it's pretty good. These movies, though, I totally agree with you. And I think like the thing I go back to with these movies is like that Iron Man principle, which you go back to, you watch like some of the behind the scenes making of the original Iron Man, and You see interviews with Jon Favreau and Robert Downey, and they talked about how when he flies for the first time, he puts the suit on, the actual working suit for the first time. He's like, we're going to go for a test flight. That's a big deal. That's meant to be joyful and fantastic. And that can stand alone if you give it the attention that it deserves. As a viewer, you're like, yeah, heck yeah, this is freaking awesome. And the dinosaurs in these movies are the same way, right? And Spielberg got that from the jump. Like, you see a freaking T-Rex, you see a brontosaurus, you see whatever, and like that's enough. And then you add the thriller aspects, you layer those on after the fact, but you give us that spectacle first and lean into it and give it its proper attention, because like the newer movies, you're looking at digital effects and they don't feel real, they don't look real because they're not treated as if they're real. Like the characters aren't like, like you're not like feeling it, you're not seeing it on the screen. And then you lose that connection point. And then there was the whole cloning thing with the girl that was a half dinosaur or whatever. You lost me with all that nonsense. So yeah, I agree with you.
Well, for the sake of time, should we do one more around the horn and then a very quick honorable mention if you have it?
Yeah.
Not to be the school marm here or anything. And mine is going to be controversial. Heads up. I teased it that it was coming. And again, I like it, but it's Mandalorian Season 1. Mandalorian Season 1. Even when you have Jon Favreau like trying to brag to George Lucas that he used the thing from the holiday special, the gun, and it's like every episode was like you have the Garandon, the spy, playing the little flute to have the cab come up. You have the ATST. You have Baby Yoda, for crying out loud. You have Jawas all over the place for an episode, and a sand crawler. It was like we dug out our 1977 Kenner toys. And that was a good story, and I liked it, like I said, but it was nothing. Like, I was actually thinking about this. It is more egregious than The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, the only one that makes me go, ugh, is when Finn pulls out the training remote. That's the only time where it breaks the fourth wall, and it's kind of like, come on. But the rest of it, of Force Awakens, it's like, okay, I understand the people, and it's not like we go and visit Han Solo for 10 seconds in that movie. He plays an integral role in the story and everything like that. So, but Mandalorian Season 1 is much more, nostalgia bait than The Force Awakens ever was. And people love Mandalorian more than they do Force Awakens. So, controversy.
Within the spirit of this exercise, I might offer a Book of Boba Fett as an alternative, or at least an addendum.
Yeah,
to
that's nostalgia bait that was not as good. Yes, I would agree with you. But it was, you have to admit, Season 1 of Mandalorian was very much, hey kid, and you've got the Jabba's, door knocker thing, and you have stormtroopers, and you have pit droids. I mean, it was all over the place. Again, I like it, but it was, I wonder if they could, if they were to go back and make Season 1 again, would they use so many obvious callbacks like that? So anyway, like I said, I like it, but it was, yeah, go ahead.
I think, because in the interest of diversity here, because we've leaned into some like comic booky things, and Star Wars and sci-fi and all the geeky stuff. I'm gonna go a little more mainstream here. Coming to America 2,
Yes.
I just hated that movie, and I love the first movie, and I think like that's probably part of what's going on with that one, which is that if you really love the original and the second one doesn't live up to it,
Well,
like what are you gonna do?
9 times out of 10, anytime you put two after in the title, it's not going to be good. It's
Yeah,
obvious what you're trying to do. It's like, hey, remember, it's, that's why we went from Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back. It's like, this is, totally different story, everybody. We're not trying to recreate the wheel here, but one of the things that was on my list was Hot Tub Time Machine. I like that movie. I like that movie, but that was full of nostalgia. It was just to make Gen Xers, you know, like, oh yeah, feel good about the 80s. It was at the right age from us. But Hot Tub Time Machine 2 sucks. It's like anytime you just put two at the end of it, it's like so anyway, sorry, but I
my
have never seen
feelings on
coming.
this are similar to yours with Caddyshack too. It just
See, there it is again. You just put two at the end of it and it's going to be bad. Go ahead.
the original is held in such high regard and it's such a classic. And I don't know if this is again like this might be worth an examination by somebody if they want to write a paper on this, an academic paper at some point. But it's just like it feels like to me, comedies in particular are so much harder to do this with. Like, how are you going to come back to the same joke? Like, if you come back and you tell the same jokes
Yes.
over again,
Yes.
like people are going to be like, "Yeah, why are you telling me the same? I already heard this one."
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you don't lean into the same type of humor, like the tone is going to be all wrong, right? So I don't know. It's a tough assignment. I understand that, but like Coming to America 2 really irritated me when I saw that thing on streaming. I mean, it was just a slog, man. I don't think there was anything funny in that movie. I didn't laugh. I, and I hold the original in such high regard. It's so good, and that's Eddie Murphy at his best, right? And Arsenio Hall, right? Um, but yeah, the sequel shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened.
And this is one of those things where you gotta go back and go, when you're trying to make a sequel to one of your best movies 30 years down the line, like maybe stop and consider if you're still hitting, the same 95-mile-an-hour fastball, which most people just can't 30 years down the line. And then
Yeah.
what exactly you're trying to prove. So again, goes to Aaron's point about Spaceballs 2 coming down the line, and it's like, what's the likelihood that this is going to be as good as we want it to be? So fingers crossed. For my last one, I'm going to go a bit away from Peak, and I mentioned, and I don't know if you guys ever seen this. There was a whole series of movies back in a decade ago called The Expendables. The
Oh,
whole idea behind it was we're going to get all the 80s action stars
Mm.
and put them together in one movie. So, which was the thing that every kid and every young person back in the 80s used to do. What if we get a movie with Arnold and Stallone and Bruce Willis? And it's like, well, here we go, kids. We got them all in this movie alongside with Jason Statham and Dolph Lundgren and Wesley Snipes and everybody. I mean, they literally to the point that like by the time they made like the fourth and fifth one, they were calling every B movie action star from direct to cable to be in this thing. And what was hilarious is they called them the Expendables, but none of those guys ever died. It's like, wait a second. It's like, how expendable are you if you keep making it out of these suicide missions every time? It's kind of like if you made a movie called The Suicide Squad and nobody died. It's like, that seems kind of weird. But it just felt like the worst case. Again, the concept, the idea of putting together all your 80s action hero icons in one movie would have worked in the 1980s when they
Yeah.
were at their peak, when you can make that kind of silly over the top movie and people would have ate it up. But in this case, like trying to do the same thing 30 years later when all these guys are old, and they actually got to lean into old people, old guy jokes about arthritis and whatnot. It's like I'm just like, yeah, and they totally can rappel down the walls and jump out of airplanes and go fight a guy that's 20 years younger and 50 pounds heavier. It's like, okay, come on, guys. So that felt again when we're talking nostalgia bait, that felt very much like right down the middle in terms of nostalgia bait.
So I have one very quick honorable mention, and I have one back here that I really like, but it's the classic mini video game consoles
Oh, yeah.
that have been all the kind of rage, like about 7 years ago or so. The
Hmm.
Nintendo Mini, then they had the Super Nintendo Mini, and then you have the Atari 2600. That is nothing but pleading to the Gen Xers who now have some expendable income and harken back to better days of crappier graphics. So
I love those things, and
see, I
right,
do
like,
too, but
yeah,
but that's the only reason why you make those is
yeah,
for a nostalgic cash grab. That's what we're
yep,
talking about, right?
exactly, exactly. And there's so many examples, especially when you're talking about video games in particular, like the arcade one up cabinets, the
Yeah.
the miniature cabinets that people buy, those things. And those are even more egregious in a way because it's like $300, $400, which is more affordable than buying a full sized cabinet. But still, you're like, you're dropping $400 on one video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It,
Any
I
honorable
get it.
mentions from y'all?
They,
God, we talked about Michael Bay. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies are so bad that he did, which were sequel. They weren't sequels; they were reboots of the original foam suit Ninja Turtle movies that we saw in the '80s and '90s.
That's
Um,
another thing. If you use the word reboot, it's probably going to be bad.
yeah, well, that was yeah. If you use the word Michael Bay,
Yeah.
like you're in trouble already, right? Like, I mean, he's done a few good things, but like, uh, those Ninja Turtle movies were so bad. I hated them. Uh, the Joker sequel, like the original one was bad enough, but then the sequel, like, it just like, what are you doing with this? And then one other one that I felt like I had to mention was Clash of the Titans, the reboot of the Clash of the Titans. Again, I hold the original in such high regard. Like when you remake the movie, okay, make it better, and then it was just boring. It was just boring.
I would say the sequel that came out, Wrath of the Titans, I enjoyed it a lot more because it further leaned into its own story and it got away from trying to be Clash of the Titans. And I actually enjoyed it a bit more because of that, because it's like, okay, we're actually going to lean into the story we're trying to tell. Yeah, that remake. I mean, look, as a kid of the '80s, you grew up with Clash of the Titans. That Medusa sequence
Oh
is
yeah.
burned into your mind because it scared the heck out of you at age 7. I don't care what how cool you thought you were, but yeah. Uh, I don't know, but yeah, no, it was that movie. I have issues with that movie. Uh, Getting away from movies, and I'll bring it back kind of round circle to concerts and whatever. You're talking about bands that are, they're going out for nostalgia tours. I'm gonna mention one. I'm probably gonna get into some heat with some metalheads. Uh, you guys ever heard of Pantera,
Yeah.
Oh
the
yeah.
metal band? Well, they're out on tour, which is kind of odd because the two of the founding members, the Abbott brothers, Vinnie Paul on drums and Dimebag Darrell, the guitarist, are no longer with us and have not been with us for years. But yet somehow they got the lead singer and the bass player when they got another drummer, another guitarist, and they're going out calling it Pantera. And I'm just like, yeah, but you're not. This would be like if Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney decided we're going to go out and tour as the Beatles, but we're gonna get some other two guys to play and sing as George and John, and you're like, okay, no. I mean, if you want to go out on tour doing that material, but just call it like I'm out touring by myself, cool, no problems with it. But I guess they know full well that that won't sell as much as putting the name. But that's the point. that's what nostalgia bait it's in its essence is. We are trading on the name. The name has a brand recognition that makes fans go nuts, and we want to go see this. So they're out on tour with Metallica, and I'm just like, come on now.
So you guys know how I end every show saying if you have your ideas
Mm-hmm.
of what should have been on the list, hit us up on the street corners or whatever like that. So I went and got my haircut last week, and the guy who cuts my hair was a former student of mine from Nebraska. And anyway, he wasn't done listening to our episode yet about top villains. He's like, "You got to tell me that Abeloth made the list." And I was like, "No, it didn't. We didn't mention it." He's like, and my haircut like took twice as long because he kept stopping to talk about the book that Abeloth. So Alan, he actually took the time to share why this was. If we ever want to talk expanded universe, I think we need to have him on the show because he's like that was his bread and butter. But yeah, Abeloth, he said, should have been on the list, and he went on forever. So Alan, shout out if you made it to the end of this one. So there you go.
If Ahsoka season 2 has Abeloth in it, then we'll have to bring him in. I was going to say real quick, so breaking news, and literally breaking news as of an hour ago. The intergalactic crew of Chewbacca's announced its theme, and we kind of know the date. It's parading on Saturday, January 24th. Its theme for next year is "Rebellions are built on hope," and one of their overlords, Richard Riggs, is stepping down, and will serve as Chewbacca's 15. So congrats to
All
him.
right.
Congrats to them. If you want to sign up, sign up. Go to their website and just sign up, and you can be part of the Sacred Drunken Wookiee clan of miscreants and ne'er dwellers and fun people.
I wanted to also just say, I know we're running real long and we're trying to wrap up, but I also wanted to say, like, the idea of nostalgia when we're talking about me going to this show, this is what we led off with. And like you said, we're circling back, and you were talking about Pantera. And I read a really good review of this Oasis show, which talked about the value in community. And like that was one of the big takeaways from going to this show where 60,000 people like all had this thing in common.
Mm-hmm.
And it was notable because it was like mostly dudes. There were a lot of women there, but it was more male in nature. And I feel like a lot of guys right now are struggling to find those connection points with other guys. They're struggling to find community. And failing going to an Oasis show, there are other guys out there that are, into the same stuff that you are into. And you don't have to like get bitter or get lonely. The dudes are out there, man. Like we're out here, we're talking about this stuff, we're engaging stuff, we're trying to do it in a positive way. Feel free to like reach out to us, if you have any opinions about any of this stuff.
Yeah. Right on. Until then, we will say who dat?
Who dat?
Who dat?
And everybody have a fantastic week.
McConkey.